As I'm able to speak Thai fluently and love singing Thai songs, people often ask me for tips for learning Thai. Therefore, I summed up for you the 10 most important things you need to know if you want to learn Thai. Stay tuned! Hi guys, hope you're doing fine. If you're new to this channel, I'm George, Chai Thai, and you're on My Thai 24. If you live in Thailand or cope with Thais frequently in your everyday life somewhere else, you should learn Thai. And I can tell you, it is a lot of fun and very rewarding. Because if you're able to speak Thai well, you will be able to talk to any Thai and thus really understand how Thais really are and really tick, and what is really going on in Thailand. Moreover, I can assure you, everybody can learn Thai. It is doable. Even though learning Thai may seem quite challenging and hard, but many things seem hard at the beginning when everything is new. But when you look back after a few months, you'll be like, yeah, it's actually going okay. Age is also no excuse not to learn Thai. Just recently, I watched an 80-year-old polyglot on YouTube saying that he had learned 9 languages after the age of 60. So, do not say that you are too old for learning only one language. You are never too old, also not for Thai. Before starting with the tips for learning Thai, some general info. Thai is a tonal language and has its own alphabet with 44 consonants and 28 vowels. For people who have a native tongue that is not a tonal language, it is particularly challenging to get the tones of the Thai language right. However, it is crucial to get it correct, as using the wrong tone changes the whole meaning of a word. For example, mai means new, and mai means no or not, and mai means would. Just that you get an impression that tones make a real difference in Thai. Moreover, there are many sounds in Thai language which you do not have in your language, which is another challenge, as your ears have to get used to these new sounds and also learn to differentiate them, and then to be able to pronounce them correctly. This leads to the first point of my list of 10 things you need to know before studying Thai. Number 1. First listen carefully and watch Thai people speaking Thai. Due to the pronunciation challenges of Thai, before starting to speak, first you need to listen, 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 and one more time listen. How Thais pronounce Thai words correctly. Get used to the sounds of Thai language and particularly also the 5 different tones and internalize them. Not only listen, but also watch how Thai people speak and pronounce the words, how they shape their mouth, lips, and how they use their tongue, if visible, to create the sound of Thai consonants and vowels. If you cannot see where they place their tongue when creating a certain sound, for example, of a consonant which you have hard times to pronounce, just ask them where they place their tongue when pronouncing this consonant. There are also some Thai consonants which sound the same or very similar for many Western ears, but of course for Thais they sound different, and most importantly, by mixing them up you change the whole meaning of a word, which is another challenge. For example, the consonants dodek and dotao sound really similar for many non-Thais. I just give you an example of 2 words with these consonants. Dag with the consonant dotao means break, and dag with the consonant dodek means eat, but a kind of impolite word for eating. So completely different meaning, but sounding really similar, right? Before even trying to pronounce them, you need to be able to hear the difference of these consonants clearly. Then the next step is trying to pronounce them correctly. Number 2. Get the pronunciation right from the beginning. If you learn new Thai words, make sure you pronounce each of them correctly before going ahead and learn more Thai words. Very importantly, you also must get the tones right, as they change the whole meaning of a word, as said before. Finally, at least it should be understandable for every Thai person when you pronounce the newly learned word. Otherwise, it is a waste of time. So do not try to learn as many Thai words as fast as possible, but pay attention to the correct pronunciation of each word. Therefore, as mentioned in point 1, listen first. Listen to a new word until you have internalized it and are sure that you are ready to pronounce it correctly. Be also aware of the fact that to pronounce Thai sounds which you do not have in your language correctly, you need to train your speaking muscles. So muscles in your tongue, lips, jaw and pharynx. Some sounds might not need a lot of training, but some others take quite some time until you are able to pronounce them correctly. So you need to have a bit of patience with yourself. But take it easy and take your time. Do not rush, otherwise you end up getting used to wrong pronunciation, which makes your Thai difficult to understand for Thai people. And moreover, it is much more difficult and time consuming to get rid of wrong pronunciation later. So at the beginning, go better slow, but with the right pronunciation. I know that it takes a lot of patience and discipline, but believe me, it pays off later because finally you will be understood by everybody in Thailand. By the way, there are quite a few foreigners who can speak Thai to a certain extent, but did not pay enough attention to the right pronunciation right from the beginning, and thus have problems now because Thai people have hard times understanding them due to their bad pronunciation. Of course, Thais who know these foreigners and are used to their unclear pronunciation understand them mostly, but as soon as they meet strangers who are not used to their unclear pronunciation, they oftentimes do not understand them, which can be quite frustrating for them, particularly if they think that their Thai is quite good and fluent, but people just do not understand them. So therefore, as said, get the pronunciation right from the beginning. Number 3. Learn reading and writing right from the beginning. Reading and writing helps you a lot to effectively and correctly learn Thai and also how to pronounce Thai correctly, and gives you a much more holistic and deeper understanding of the language. Moreover, if you are able to read and write Thai, you have much more opportunities to practice your Thai, particularly if you are in Thailand, but also on the internet. Number 4. Take a Thai teacher. No sole self-studies. Due to the pronunciation challenges of Thai, it is highly recommendable to have a Thai teacher. Perfect would be one-to-one teaching, but at least small groups, particularly at the beginning. He or she should check your pronunciation and make sure that you get it right. Number 5. Practice Thai. Listen and speak as much as possible. Have Thai friends who speak Thai to you. Best is to have Thai friends who are not able to speak English, or at least not well. They are most likely to speak Thai to you even if you are a beginner. As I studied at an international college in Thailand more than 20 years ago, most Thais there spoke English well and thus, of course, talked English to me. Therefore, I also made friends outside the university who could not speak English. They were happy and appreciated a lot that I was eager to learn Thai and thus able to communicate to them. Quite a few of them were also very helpful when I had questions about speaking Thai. If this video is informative and interesting for you up to now, please smash the like button. Thank you. Number 6. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Dare to speak. Dare to speak. Have no inhibitions, and making mistakes is a part of it. If you make funny mistakes, for example, when the meaning of a word is changing due to your wrong pronunciation, sometimes Thais, of course, also will laugh. But do not worry. They do not laugh about you, but about your mistake. Just laugh with them. It also happened to me many times, particularly at the beginning. So do not worry about this. Number 7. You do not learn Thai automatically by living in Thailand or having a Thai girlfriend or boyfriend. There is still the myth that you kind of automatically learn a language by living in the country where this language is spoken. Thus, also quite a lot of people kind of believe that you automatically learn Thai when you live in Thailand. This is certainly utter nonsense and is not true at all. For example, most foreigners in Thailand do not speak Thai well. Many of them almost do not speak Thai at all, in spite of having lived in Thailand for years or even decades. And of course, having a Thai girlfriend or boyfriend does not help you either to automatically learn Thai without an effort. There are even more examples of non-Thais living with their Thai partner or spouse for years and decades and are not able to speak Thai at all. Learning Thai or any language does not just happen automatically. You need to actively study it. You need to work hard, and it takes a lot of perseverance and dedication in order to learn a language. This is also true for Thai. Of course, if you study Thai, it helps a lot if you are in Thailand, because you can practice everywhere, and if you have a Thai girlfriend who is willing to speak Thai with you, it also helps a lot. But oftentimes at the beginning her English is significantly better than your Thai, and thus you mostly end up speaking English and not Thai. Number 8. There are no shortcuts or hacks to learn Thai. It is not possible to learn Thai in 2 weeks or in a month. Moreover, taking shortcuts like skipping reading and writing are also not recommendable at all due to the already mentioned reasons under point 3. Besides that, taking shortcuts sounds like being in a rush, and this is exactly what you should not be when starting to learn Thai. As said, at the beginning you need to take time to pay attention to the right pronunciation and better move slowly with learning new vocab, but get them pronounced correctly. Number 8. Get rid of the tones or the melody of your native language. As already mentioned, Thai is a tonal language, and thus tones change the meaning of a word or a syllable. This is crucial, and you need to be always aware of this. If your native language is a non-tonal language, you still use tones or your language has a certain melody, but not to alter the meaning of a word, but to emphasize something or indicate attitude or to show that something is a question or just due to your mood or emotions. To illustrate a bit what I mean with tones or melody of your language, let's look at some examples. Are you sure? Are you sure? Goes down first. Are you sure? See? There's a melody. There are tones too. Another example. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It also goes up and down, right? So there's a melody of the language. So you see, English and also other non-tonal languages to also have tones or a certain melody. It is important that you get rid of the tones or the melody of your language when you speak Thai. Otherwise, it interferes with your pronunciation of Thai words. You risk to change the meaning of Thai words and thus will be misunderstood or not understood at all. This is not an easy thing to do, as you have internalized the melody of your language from your childhood. It takes time. First get aware of it and then try to omit it when speaking Thai. Number 10, last but not least, Thais compliment you a lot for your Thai. People who know some Thai know that Thai people compliment you for your Thai even if you only speak a few words in Thai. This is very nice and motivating and makes the whole thing much more fun and gives you a kind of positive feeling when learning Thai, as you are permanently rewarded with compliments by Thais. On the other hand, however, they mostly do not criticize you if you have unclear pronunciation or make other mistakes. They are mostly not very likely to correct you. So the combination of both, namely the fact that they tend to compliment you and not criticize your language mistakes, might result in people being not aware of their mistakes and thus not trying to get rid of them and to improve themselves. Therefore, it is also very good to have a Thai teacher or tutor who controls you and corrects your Thai if you make mistakes. These were the 10 things you should know if you want to learn Thai. They were rather general but important in my view. I will make another video with more precise tips, including recommending study materials, apps and websites later. If this video was interesting and valuable for you, please hit the like button. Thank you. Besides getting asked for tips for learning Thai, I often get asked how I learned Thai and how long it took until I was fluent in Thai. I will answer these questions in future videos too, so please subscribe my channel and make sure you do not miss them. Thank you very much for watching, and I catch you on the next one. Bye!